was dropped, and it's cool.
That's a great way to start this. Gene, welcome to the studio. Cheers, buddy.
My man.
Oh, I have a gift for you, by the way.
A gift. Ho, hey-o. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, well, Mr. Gene Harshaw, welcome to Casa de la Cade, also known as Film Trigger, also known as an interview, Studio 47, who knows? Whatever day it is, right?
You know it. Thank you, man.
Yeah, and I brought you in here because we've had a good communication ever since we've known each other. It's very easy to talk to you. You have a very genuine personality, someone that opens up easy, and I kind of attract to people like that, you know. And so I appreciate, number one, you always being very genuine with me and sitting back and talking real and things like that. And I wanted to bring you in because, you know, obviously, you know, I want to talk about Zayne, you know, and the Blue Spectrum band. And I watched that documentary about Blue Spectrum and how it came together and what have you. And it was very informative. I learned a good deal. It was really cool to see Zayne, like, just, you know, be in a comfortable zone talking to them. And I wanted to dive deeper into what led up to all this, your trials and tribulations. And we can go off, you know, off that subject and just talk about you. It's whatever you want to talk about, really. But I did want to touch base with, you know, your story of where you've been, how you got there, and where you guys plan on going. So,
very well. First of all, thanks so much for inviting me here to Casa de Cade, and so as I expected, be warm and engaging, and I think we're going to have a nice time of dialogue here.
Oh, we always do.
So
you just got to forget these microphones.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny. I think I'm like, I can see them like mentally just slipping away, you know, and just kind of, next thing you know, you're kind of flowing into conversation, you know.
Yep.
So
that's how it goes, man. So,
yeah.
You were, excuse me, you were telling me, you know, a story the other day where you came out to my open mic, and you told this really endearing story about, you know, how Zayne. Do you remember what story it was? Because now I'm having trouble like finding exactly which story.
So many
it was
stories.
The lady said one thing to you, and it was like the one time she commented.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good jumping off point as any, unless there's somewhere else you would like to start.
I get it. Okay, so you know, many times over the years, folks will come up to us, to Gwen or myself, and like just express, you know, thanks, or like, you know, like, wow, that is a compliment, just us being supportive parents and supporting Zayne, and here we are at these venues with him, and at first I always thought it was a bit odd, because I'm like, well, of course, I mean, we're his parents, you know. I'm like, right. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, why wouldn't I be here, you know? But as you go along and grow along, you learn things along the way.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, now I see this. It's not always, that support is not always there. And we'll also, in the midst of this conversation, I know I'll break off regarding something else, but I want to stay here on the story first. So when there was a time when, and kind of towards the beginning here, when Zayne was going to got into this job program. The job program was going to pay him over the summer, and you had to be there the first week of orientation. You had to be there. You couldn't miss any days of orientation, or otherwise you can't be in the program. Well, Gwen had found this blues camp for a week. It was only a week long. This week-long blues camp for him to take part in. That would happen to be the same week as the orientation week. Now, had it been during the weeks during the job, it'd have been fine.
Right.
But because it was that week, that means he can't participate in this job program. He can't get paid. So I'm just thinking like, well, this is pretty simple. Just get him enrolled into the job program, and off he goes, start getting paid. Well, she kind of digs her heels in, and well, wait a minute, we need to look at this a little further. And I'm like, look at what further? There's nothing to look at here. I saw it simply as he can get paid for the summer, or I can pay $325 for him to go through this blues camp. Easy decision.
Right. Yeah. I mean, from a father, definitely, like let's get him out in that work field. Let's get that experience in there.
Absolutely. So we're kind of going back and forth on this thing. I call the intense time of fellowship, that we're having. I get this phone call. Now, ordinarily, because of the type of discussion that we're having, I would not have answered my phone. But I saw who it was, and I thought it was kind of peculiar because this woman had never called me before. It was someone who was a classmate of Gwen's. So I said, what, let me go and take this call. Like, this is odd. So I'll pick up the phone, and this lady says hello, and we exchange pleasantries, and I'm waiting for her to tell me why she's calling me, and before I know it, she's going into this story. She says, now, before I go any further, this woman had raised 3 boys. She homeschooled them all to Ivy League educations, and even wrote a book about the subject. So she's telling me that her youngest, when he was 3 years old, drew a picture for her, and he takes it to her. Says, "Look, mommy, look what I drew for you." She says, "What's this?" I said, "A picture I drew for you." She said, "Where'd you get it?" I said, "I drew it for you." Well, she was so astonished. She scooped him up, took him back to the kitchen table, sat him down, and got him the pen and pad. It was like, "Do it again."
Do it again. Prove it. Interrogation time.
So, the 3-year-old did it again for her. So, like I said, she was just so astonished. She picks up the phone, calls her husband at work, says, you need to come home. Something's wrong, with Corey. So
she had never really seen him like do this before.
Yeah,
or nothing. It's just like something that just came out.
It was like they whatever it was he drew. Now it may have been something out of a Playboy magazine. I don't know, but whatever it was he drew, she was like, whoa, So, and it's funny because that is kind of what hits you when Zayne's gift got revealed to us. I mean, we weren't, oh wow, this is great, gee willikers. I mean, we were nervous.
Yeah.
We got, I mean, Gwen says, hey, she's a cold chill went down her back.
And that's when he got into guitar, like for real, because I know he did that Guitar Hero, got interested, but then got in front of you guys in front of the TV. I want the real thing, and then got disinterested. But when he came back, is that when he started seeing that talent?
Once he got into it, and once we had that aha moment of how good he was becoming, we were like, whoa, because what happens is, anytime something's revealed to you, you get some type of knowledge revealed to you, now you're burdened with addressing it. You can't just know it and like, okay, and go about your business. Now you're like, okay, every ounce of your being is now set to find a way to, what do I do with this? I got this knowledge. What do I do with this? And I have to educate myself now in terms of what to do with this, because
Right.
now I'm charged with this.
And that's where that lady was at that particular time when she saw that picture. She's like, okay, what?
Like, whoa,
What do I do with this?
So, because at first I was like, well, why would she freak out? But it's
Right.
like, whoa, wait a minute. Whatever it was that child drew, it hit her. It hit her hard to the point of she couldn't even wait till her husband came home. She called him right on the spot. Hey, we got an issue. Well, fast forward, the young man is receiving his master's in fine arts from this Ivy League school he was attending. So her and her husband went out to his final showing, and when they got there, they were greeted by three of his professors. Now, these three professors let them know that their son was very talented, that between the three of them, they had over 90 years experience on the collegiate level teaching, and he was certainly the kind of student you see once every 10, 12 years or so. So he was definitely that gifted, but that's not why they were at the show, because typically they did not attend the student shows. But that's not why they were there. They were there because they specifically wanted to meet this young man's parents, particularly his father. What father would allow his son to pursue this particular discipline? Where's the money in this?
Right.
How you gonna take care of yourself doing
Yeah, the
this?
term starving artist exists for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa. But this young man had the absolute 100% support of his father. So they wanted to meet this man. So her husband said he thanked them for coming to the show. And then he tells them, our son's gift revealed itself to us many years ago. And we believed that it would have been spiritually irresponsible not to support it to the best of our ability.
Spiritually irresponsible.
I had never heard that before. Spiritually irresponsible. There's an acknowledgement there.
Yeah.
You say that it's spiritually irresponsible, not that the same place that this gift came from, the same gift would provide the provision to see this gift to the end. That would be given to those parents as you being stewards of this gift.
Yeah.
That the provision will be provided for you to take care and nurture that thing. Spiritually irresponsible. Man, and that just hit me right to the core. And the most surprising part about that was that even after he graduated and got his master's in that discipline, with agreement by his father, they provided for their son for another 5 years after he got his master's so that he could travel the world in participating in that discipline. So he was able to expound on not just what he had learned in academia, but now he's out there in the actual world with
getting some street knowledge,
getting real world
street
application, and not just in the streets of his hometown,
Right.
but I mean in the streets of Greece, some different African nations, and parts of Europe.
Just absorbing
This
different
kid,
cultures.
absolutely, this kid traveled the world, and he had his father's full financial support and his blessing. So, man, I'll tell you, I just had tears going down my cheeks.
Yeah, and she's telling you this.
She's telling me this.
because, it was
Out the blue.
out of the blue.
And then
While you're in this decision,
Steve-
trying to figure out, well, I want Zane to go to this job, go make money for the summer instead of, going to the blues camp or what
Yeah.
have you.
And she, man, listen, and then she giggles. She giggles like, and says, I don't even know why I'm calling you. And she's laughing. And she's like, oh, well, hey, well, tell Gwen I said hello.
Right.
And hangs up the phone.
Talk about
And
divine intervention, huh?
Man, I'm sitting up there dumbstruck. I looked over at Gwen, and I said, you know what? This conversation is done. Go ahead and sign him up for the blues camp. Conversation's over. I had my assignment.
Yeah, your spiritual responsibility.
Spiritually being spiritually responsible. I've had my assignment, and that is to support him to the best of my ability. That his gift has been revealed, and provision has been made, and that's what we've tried to do from that moment on.
And it's very prominent. Like, it's something that you guys shine, and every time I've seen you in person, you and Gwendolyn, like, you're both just very vibrant, very, always have a smile on your face, always so supportive. You don't, I don't hear you talk negatively or do anything, go in that side of the world or of discussion, but like, you're always so welcoming and so supportive of Zayne, and I know it's got to be exhausting. It's got to be exhausting, like just how much time you have to do it, because you also have your own jobs, you have your own things going on, right? I mean, there's a whole balance, and you're also managing this band, and that's a family. You're managing 5-6 other people, at any given time, all with different attitudes, different walks of life, that whole juggle right there. I mean, it takes a special type of person or people to take on that responsibility and to do it, with a smile on your face like you guys do. And I think a lot of people admire you for that. And, that's one of the reasons why one of the many reasons why I wanted you in here. I wanted to discuss that life with you and like how you manage that and how you handle that situation.
So we talk about that the same power that I always say that Zayne's gift came from his heavenly father, not his earthly father. So, because I don't play a thing. If I played so much as the spoons, I would take credit for his gift. So
you got that musical ear, you heard me playing the spoons. That's it.
So, but as we go about our lives, there are things that we've done up to that point that we're able to draw from. I spent many years as a restaurant manager, for one.
Oh, you and I share that same background.
Yeah. And you know how it is, man. When you're in restaurant management, you're dealing with everything from, kids, college kids who, the most stressful thing they've ever had in their lives was they broke up with a boyfriend. Yeah. All the way to this guy here that's on his second strike, I mean, so, you get all and every individual in between, and getting them all locked in and focused on this objective to have a successful dinner shift.
Yeah.
So
it's stressful, in that light, I can actually, empathize with you, that makes perfect sense. You're leading that team on top of working on the admin and doing the inventory, and the cleaning and all that stuff. Yeah, it's definitely a lot to juggle.
It's 1,000 balls in the air, and you're in charge of it all, and there's certain skills you develop in the midst of that. And keeping your eye on the ball, keeping your eye on the objective, while trying to make sure everyone is, has their head on straight for this shift, because you got to look at it one shift at a time. So it's like, okay. I always tell people, if you go to a restaurant, you don't realize that it is an organized chaos going on all around you.
Yes, it is, and that definitely. I never really thought about that before. When it comes to like running shows and stuff like that, I've always found that I have a knack for it, but I never really equated it to my experience in restaurant management. You know, like now that you put it in that light, that makes perfect sense.
A friend of mine who does a corporate headhunter said that restaurant managers are some of the easiest people to place and to put into other industries.
Yeah.
Because of just the certain skills you develop in the midst of that. You know, just being able to operate, do things on the fly.
Yeah.
To flying by the seat of your pants and still maintain the objective. I used to have a general manager that was like, you take care of the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves.
That makes sense.
So you learned how to do any and everything. And then I also learned the value of relationships, whether that was with purveyors, whether that was with your beverage guys that came through, your staff. Since I worked in the front of the house, okay, so I'm there with the tie on, but I was never beyond rolling my sleeves up and going to the dish tank.
Yeah, you can't
help the dish guy out, or go behind the line and get barbecue sauce splashed on my tie, splashed on my shirt, because I'm helping the grill guy out, or I'm tell the fry guy slide down. Let me help in the fry side, and you jump over here. And those guys appreciated the fact that I was that guy.
Yeah, leading by example. And you're not afraid to be part of the team.
Yeah, I'm not yelling at them. Hey, where's this? Where's that? Do this. Do this. I got eyes. I can see. Okay, they're going down. It's like these tickets are hitting at the same time here.
Sometimes you just got to go back there and go, "What do you need?
What do you need?
What do you need? What do you want me to do?"
Yeah,
because you have your cook back there. You trust that cook.
Yeah,
and so you got to play into that person's strengths and just tell it's your world back here. You tell me what I can do to help.
Boom. Right. And they used to hate managers that would come in and just kind of pull rank on them. And say, okay, I got it. Move, like no, tell me what to do. Even though I've been trained on everything back here, but this is your world. You live back here, so you tell me what I can do to help you. Do I need to go cut something up? What do I need to do? I got you. So
those skills helped you apply
absolutely.
Into
absolutely
specifically what we're talking about. The band management.
Yeah.
And,
because and I've had to learn too that the band itself, with the change of because bands go through personnel changes, and as the personnel changes occur, certain principal beliefs, certain principles that the band was founded on is going to be lost with some of the newer members.
Yeah,
because they weren't there, so they don't know. For them, it's just a cool band to be a part of, to go play and get adulation and get to hear the applause and aren't they great? But in terms of this messaging, they're almost clueless. They may know about it, but they don't know about it.
Right. And they'll learn it.
Yeah.
If that spirit is still with the remaining members, they get shared information, and that person will probably bring something else that will become, a part of the team. Yeah.
And if it's not anything that hits them on a personal level, we've seen that with other organizations. Because of our being active with other organizations within the autism community, you come across individuals who hold a certain position, and it may be some type of executive position, or it may be a type of head marketing position. But you'll see over time they're not there very long, because they really didn't have a personal stake in it.
Right.
It really does involve having a heart for it. You have to kind of know about it. It's more than just, check this out. There needs to be some type of something that's personal to you that that motivates you. I talk about even in the restaurant business. I'm like, you really have to you have to have a heart for this thing. You know, I had a friend of mine. He had came into some money, and he wanted to start a restaurant. And I said, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah.
And he approached me about it, and I'm like, "You can't be serious. You know nothing. Only thing he knew about a restaurant was that he had eaten in one. That was his experience."
Yeah, that's...
But you go to places and it looks easy.
Smoke and mirrors.
Oh yeah, and when I tell people, I'm like, listen, you do realize that what makes that one of the most difficult businesses around is that everybody eats.
Yeah.
Everybody eats. So everyone thinks they know what tastes good. You know, when they only know what tastes good to them.
Right.
You know. So it's like, I'm like, oh, and of course, you know, and I'm like, and so I'm really trying to do everything I can to talk this guy out of it. You know, because I'm like, dude, you have no idea how much work it's going to require, not just money, but just the sheer physical work.
Yeah.
The number of hours it's going to take. The mining the pennies. I mean, everything.
I mean, just running it is tough enough, but like starting it, like you know, beginning a new adventure in that world, that's a whole different level.
Totally.
For sure. But as you said, you know, good restaurant managers, good restaurant teams make it look easy, you know, and I kind of going back, you know, to the band, like I think that's what people really, you know, admire about you and Gwendolyn, you know, like going out and you guys make it look easy. You make it look fun, you know, and you guys are having fun, you know, but it does look easy. It's almost like, well, they got Blue Spectrum here. I mean, the band sells itself, you know, but there's so much that goes behind that. You know, they're only seeing the tip of this iceberg, you know, and all the behind the scenes that go into that, you know, getting the gigs, you know, and then getting the gig, and then all of a sudden it changes management and you don't have the gig anymore, you know, so now you got to go back and try to get the gig again.
Right.
You know, and the situations like that, and a whole bunch of X factors that I don't know about, you know, because I've never worked with a band. You know, I've had two other people and that's maximum capacity for me. You know.
and mind you, we had zero music experience.
Right.
Zero. I mean, I tell people all the time, folks ask me, well, what do you play? And I always jokingly say I play a mean radio. So
I bet you do.
That is it, you know.
I bet you do. So, man. Like, Zayne, this is his dream, Blue Spectrum.
Yeah.
And yeah. I was listening to that documentary, and I thought it was kind of funny. He was telling the story about how he'd go up to random people. You want to join my band? You want to join my band?
And what made that really odd was, you know, here's a guy that didn't say a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but suddenly now he wants to choose this time to say something, and this is what he wants to say to, you know, goes up to random people saying, hey, you want to be in my band? And I'm like, will you please stop doing that? This is so embarrassing. Like, you don't have a band. Cut it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling comfortable to talk. I just didn't know it was going to come out like this.
It's like, will you stop it already?
And that's an amazing thing. You know, how music brought this confidence out in him.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure, I mean, it's a galaxy of other things, support, you know, and all those things. But like, you know, listening to that documentary and hearing just how Zayne described, you know, it was almost like a depression for him, like how he didn't fit in, and he would, you know, he felt like he didn't fit in. He didn't know who he could talk to, and that's such a angle that, like, I was really glad they captured in that documentary, because it's you don't hear that side too often. At least somebody like me,
yeah.
You know, you don't hear that side of, you know, the spectrum too often, and it's almost, you know, he called himself disabled, you know, in the documentary, and it made me think, like, you know, what a weird term that is for, somebody in Zayne's position. He's like, well, since I'm disabled, but I'm going to power through it, and become the best that I can. And it made me wonder, like, that's not a disability, to me, just outside looking in, it made me feel like, Zayne's situation is almost bringing out the human disability of considering that a disability.
Right.
It's our disadvantage that a lot of people don't approach that in the right light. I wonder how many other Zaynes there are in this world that could do magnificent things but aren't in the right support system. That aren't being guided the correct way and have parents like you. And that it seems scary to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate to have people in our lives that helped us to, I call it, control the narrative. It's like I've always had a belief that anything that you shroud, it now becomes almost like an evil despot that sits on the throne of your heart. And you will do everything in your power to hide it, to protect it. So this thing now has made you a subject. This thing now rules you. You're a slave to this thing now. You've chosen this thing to. You don't want to be honest about it. You don't want to be upfront about it. You've been taught to be ashamed of it. You've been taught to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And now you've given your child this, something for them to feel bad about, so they can't talk about it either. And you won't share those difficult things that you went through years ago. You won't share that. You won't let people know that, hey, you know what? It's not always like this. There's a constant state of developing that constantly occurs here. Instead, you don't want to talk about it. You act like it's not there, and it's like the emperor's new clothes. Everybody sees you're naked, but they'll go along with it.
Yeah.
But you're naked. People can see it. And so when something does happen, and this thing reveals itself, someone has a meltdown or something goes off about something, and you're like, whoa, what's up with that? Well, because you don't talk about it, you don't put it out there, now your kid looks like, okay, that's odd, what's wrong with them? Because you're not in control of the narrative. The narrative controls you. And I say it sits on the throne of your heart, because now this is what you believe. It's what you protect it. It's king over you. It's made a slave of you. It rules you. And we learned early on that, you know what, if we take control of this, if we are honest about this, then the best thing we can do, and it's long before the guitar ever came into existence.
Yeah. I was about to ask,
before the guitar.
Like, how do you manage something like this?
Before the guitar.
Before the guitar, yeah.
Absolutely. So it's like, you know what? Let your child know that, hey, man, listen, everybody got something that they got to deal with. Everybody's got something they got to struggle with. Zayne would have to get into the car to be driven to a school. The middle school's in his backyard. He's watching kids walk past his back gate to walk to the school that he can't attend. He's getting into a car being driven to a special school. Well, how do you explain that? Well, we're just not going to talk about it. It's like, no, that's not healthy for him.
No.
Maybe healthy for you, because you're conditioned to think that way, but it's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for the kid, because the kid's not going to stay a kid forever.
Right.
And
that's what I was saying. Like, when he was saying, using that word disabled, it made me flip it. Like, I feel like the ignorance of people, that's the disability.
Yeah.
You know,
But he is totally the great thing is he is absolutely comfortable in his own. And like I said, long before the guitar, I mean, he is comfortable in his own skin. He's comfortable with who he is, and knowing that, you know what, there's things that people have to struggle with. There's things that everyone's got something. Everyone has something that they wrestle with, and you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And you fight to make the best of it, and you stay thinking on the bright side, stay positive, stay keep working on those things you need to work on, keep working on those things. And we use the guitar as an example. It's like, well, hey, remember when you couldn't do this? Now you're doing this. Remember all the time you put in on that guitar, or learning how to do this, or learning how to do that. Well, look what's happened. We couldn't have foreseen being flown to El Paso, or being flown to San Antonio, or being flown to Orlando, or being flown to, playing all over Pennsylvania. We couldn't have foreseen that. Could not have foreseen that. But that's exactly what's happened, And we talk about getting the kids the help that they need. It's more to it than just getting, addressing the physical needs. It's also addressing their mental needs, their psychological needs, And I haven't found anywhere in any type of, psychological readings and psychological
like books
or where it's like, well, just don't talk about it. That's the best way.
That's so strange.
I've never seen that anywhere. Because you know what? You really, light is the best disinfectant. You put it out there. You control the narrative. Hey, this is what it is. When we start going to music jams, the reason, we're very appreciative to the music. You talk about our attitudes when we come there and we're smiling, whatever, in a good mood. We appreciate everything that we've been able to get for Zayne at music jams, or open stages, open mics. We appreciate everything that have come our way because of those things. That was where he cut his teeth. Yeah. He learned by watching musicians, not just playing, but just by watching, observing.
Now, has that gone the other way? Like, maybe he's watching a certain musician, and like he can pick up bad habits as well as good ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's watched musicians take drinks up on stage.
Yeah.
So he thinks that, I was supposed to do that.
Oh.
Guilty
as charged.
So it was great when he turned 21. We had this big birthday party for him, and he turned 21 at midnight. And man, it was like those bartenders couldn't wait to serve him. And people were just buying him drinks. To be able to say that, hey, I bought Zayne a drink. I've been seeing Zayne play for the past 2-3 years. Now he's 21. I can buy him a drink. And people did it. It was shots. It was beers. It was wine.
How was he the next day?
Listen, I don't know how. I don't know how he didn't get sick. I don't know how he didn't get sick. 'Cause when I tell you, every time we saw him, he had a different glass. And he was. I'm talking beer, wine, shots, daiquiris, margaritas. It was like any type of drink he could get, man.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, and that was like his first real night of drinking. How did he not get sick?
I don't listen.
Was it hungover? Anything?
So, what was funny was it was like about an hour or so later they called him back up on stage to play, and anybody who's ever seen Zayne knows they know the speed and dexterity that he plays with.
Right.
And man, those fingers were not operating right. It was like he was playing with his knuckles.
Oh
Oh,
wow!
it was so funny, and the look on his face.
Like he didn't know.
He didn't know what was going on, and he was
It's
not happy.
it's almost I almost feel guilty laughing about it, but like yeah,
It was funny. I mean, it was. He leave about 5 minutes into it, man. After that, he was like, "Okay, I'm done." He racked that guitar. He was done for the night. He was so angry. He walked off that stage. Man.
oh that's how I felt. That's how I felt last night. You know, you and I we played a Papa Boo's with Zayne last night, and then like we went to Louis and did the after party. I made it 2 songs in. Like my voice was shot, you know, and I'd been having Coronas all day out in the sun. I think at one point in time, I'm done. I gotta get off here.
I gotta go home.
Yeah, I gotta go home. I'm out. Yeah, I just jet out of there. I had real concern on my face when Ron J's like, "You want to set up and play music?" I'm like, "If that's what you want to do, man." Like I couldn't even make it through the song. My voice was just shot. Oh yeah, I know that feeling, and I can only imagine the frustration. Zayne, like I know this, but my body is not acting like I know it.
And to this day, he won't drink and play.
Yeah.
So he learned that lesson. He's like, you know what? And I had a friend of mine who's a guitarist say, "Listen, man, I'm talented, but you're gifted." He said, "There's things that I can do with my talent, but your gift won't operate like that."
Yeah.
So
That's a really cool way to put that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
yeah. So it was ever since then, man. He's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'd rather just play."
So speaking of his the dexterity in his fingers, that was an issue for him,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Like
it was.
was there more that went into solving that issue besides playing guitar that led up to it, or was it guitar that really just made that muscle memory work? Or
So before the guitar, he had major dexterity issues. His fingers, like I always say, his fingers just flat out didn't work. We had to. So during the school year, for like 7-8 years, he took occupational therapy, and I'm talking about he had difficulties with buttoning buttons, zippers, tying shoes, using scissors. It was bad. And so bad that during the summer when he was out of school, Gwen and I got him private OT sessions that we paid out of pocket for, so he can just have year-round occupational therapy sessions. And we did this for, like I said, 7.5, 8 years, just because it was that serious. So there was no way we could have foreseen that once we got those fingers unlocked, that guitar playing is in his future. And we just wanted to be able to sign his name.
Right.
We were not thinking about playing guitars, But we use that, we talk about that, as to let other parents know, hey, get your kids the therapies that they need. And because you don't know what you could be unlocking, no clue, because they're still developing. Because sometimes as parents and caregivers, we can lose sight of the child's personhood. We get so caught up in the reporting and the analysis, and it seems like this bad reporter, that bad reporter, and these are gut punches, and after a while it does something to you, it does something to your psyche after a while, and yet the kid's still standing there like, I'm still Zayne,
right?
I still have ideas, I still have passions, I still have aspirations, I still have things I want to do. I still have.
It is easy to forget that sometimes.
Totally forget that.
Yeah.
I still have. Hey, what's that? The life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I mean, that still applies to me, doesn't it? It's
like, no, go to your room.
No, wait till let's see what the doctor says first.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I'll share a story that kind of illustrates that. And when this hit me, when this reality hit me, I felt awful. So much to the point when when Zayne's gift, when it started to get out there, and different organizations started to get wind of it, and wanted to book him for, different conferences, and next thing you know, they're sticking microphones in our faces, and it would have been real easy. If I'd have been a musician, how easy it would have been. Well, I play a little something, and yeah, he's a chip off the old block, and there he is. You see what he does, but that's not the story. That's not true. I tell people all the time, I would love to say, yeah, I taught him that right there. I showed him a little something, and no, that's not true. Okay, now, so I've already stated that I am not a musician. So when Zayne's gift revealed itself, and we said, you know what, let's go get him a teacher, So found a guy, did guitar lessons out of his home. We show up there, and we're basically just having like an intake session, just having a conversation. And he asked Zayne, how do you play? Zayne said, I hear it and I play it. I said, okay. He said, I want to try something. So he had Zayne sit on the other side of the room with his back to the piano. So the guy's at the piano, so they're directly across from each other. And then Gwen and I are directly across from each other, so we're kind of like perpendicular from the guy, So we're sitting there. He wants to do a test. Now, I'm looking over at Gwen, and we're having identical thoughts. I'm like, oh man, what a waste of time. I mean, I don't want to sit through another test for something for something for him to fall short in. I'm worn out on these things, and that's genuinely how you feel, So he says to Zayne, he says, do you have perfect pitch? Now, I just told you I know nothing about music. Tell me, why did I chime in, say, oh no, he didn't have perfect pitch?
You were frustrated with the test.
The test hadn't even begun yet.
Yeah, you were just frustrated with another thing.
I don't even know what he's going to even do.
Right.
But what perfect pitch is, the best way to describe perfect pitch is basically you hear a note and you don't need a reference note. So it's kind of like a barbershop quartet. Someone blows the pitch pipe.
Yeah.
It tells the other participants how far above or below they need to come in based off that reference note.
Right. Okay.
So perfect pitch, you don't need a reference note. So Zayne can hear any instrument, any voice, the squeak of a door. You pass gas, he'll tell you what key it is. So he can tell you the key, although he can't read music. So the guy says, I'm going to hit a key. You tell me what you hear. Bing. The guy hits a key. Without hesitation, Zayne's like, F sharp. Bing. D flat. Bing. I mean, he hits like 12 keys. Zayne gets them all right. And me and Gwen, I'm looking at Gwen like, are you kidding me?
Let me pull this mic back from you a little bit.
Okay.
It looked like it was almost going to hit your chin there. There we go.
So I said, so we're like, wow, what just happened here? So then he says, I'm going to hit 2 keys at once. You tell me what 2 keys I hit. So the guy's like, bing, hits 2 keys. Zayne tells me the 2 keys that he hits. He does it again and again and again. Does about 6 pairs. Zayne gets them correct. So we're like, whoa. Now we're flabbergasted right now. So then he says, I'm going to hit 3 keys at once. You tell me what you hear. So the guy hits 3 keys. Bam. Well, the guy had a pet cat. Zayne loves cats. So Zayne says, the cat distracted me. So we kind of chuckled, thinking like, okay, yeah, sure. The cat distracted you.
I've heard that one before,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah. Just if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Gene over here, you get all frustrated with this test. If you don't know, just tell the truth.
Just say you don't know.
He's not. I told you he doesn't have perfect pitch.
So guy does it again. Zayne's like, the cat's here. So the guy steps away from the piano, goes over to his desk, says, "Wow, I've taught for many years, had many students." He said, "I've never had anybody that could do that." He said, "I'm just like, blown away right now." So we talked for another, a few minutes. The guy's cat walks out the room. Zayne gets up, walks over to his desk, taps the desk, says, "Excuse me," and told him the 3 keys that he hit. The guy stares at the piano, and I can see he's like taking like a mental inventory, like, 1, 2, and it was like, whoa. He said that was it. And Zayne just sat back down. So those 3 notes were still running around in his head.
Yeah, he was like separating it from the distraction.
So we're like, whoa. Now, the part that revealed itself to me sometime later, and it may have been a couple years later, was that I chimed in when he said, "Do you have perfect pitch?" Now, I said no. I said no because if he had said, "Do you have all right pitch? Do you have good pitch?" No, he said perfect. He used the word perfect to describe an attribute attributed to my son. And I have just gotten to the point that psychologically that I could not pair something that spoke of perfection and pair that with my son. No, he does not have perfect pitch. And that made me incredibly sad. Incredibly sad.
Yeah, I can imagine that. That I'm sitting here like almost getting teary eyed just hearing you come to that.
Yeah.
Just like the
I mean,
revelation of that.
it produced real tears at the time when that reality hit me. I remember doing a presentation in Sandusky and talking in front of 600 people the first time I spoke that. And I mean, it took everything in me to pull it together. I mean, my voice cracked in talking to these folks and putting this out there. Because what it said was, as marvelous a gift as Zayne has, even as his parents, who loves him more than us, that we had gotten so damaged from these reports, and he'll never do this, he'll never do that, he'll always struggle with this, he'll always struggle with that, and that we couldn't even see. Gwen calls it that, she says, she refers to it as, we were so busy trying to capture the ordinary when Zayne had already captured the extraordinary. We missed it. We absolutely missed it. Something as awesome as that was, we missed it.
Man, that's going back to what you were saying, before. You get so caught up in things, you forget that Zayne's over here like, hey,
hey, I'm here.
I'm here.
It's me.
It's
yeah.
me. Yeah. That's
yeah.
Yeah. Every time I talk to you, I get chills. You have such a great story here, and it's a story of humbleness. It's a story of perseverance. There's a lot more that goes into this besides, our son can play guitar really well.
Yeah.
You know, there's blood, sweat, and tears in this.
It really is.
You know, and I can see it when I talk to you. I mean, that's why I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Because you know, just as important as it is for you to get up in front of people and tell that story to maybe parents who are in similar situations. I'm glad that you can put it out here on this platform so that we can.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe somebody can hear this and connect dots in their own life.
Yeah, because you would think that, oh, how easy it must be. I mean, man, this kid's got this great gift, man.
Yeah.
You know how blessed you are. You know, we hear that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, yeah, we must make it look real simple.
Yeah. I mean, you do. You make it look simple. You know. Again, it goes back to that, you know, running a restaurant concept.
Yeah.
You know, like it can look easy.
Yeah.
To somebody seasoned and experienced enough to know how to run that ship, you know.
And from time to time, you'll get someone that'll look at us and be like, nah, I know, you're here and you're smiling, but I know there's been some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, yeah, they get it. You know, they get it. 'Cause, I mean, even like in the band, you know, I mean, like, if you saw the documentary, when you hear Uncle Al talk,
yeah,
Al gets it. Al absolutely, positively gets it. Well, why does he get it? Because he knows Zayne since Zayne was a baby.
Yeah.
So he's known Zayne all his life. So he knows. So Al still marvels like, wow, it's still awesome for me to be I'm a part of my nephew's band. Who would have thought that Zayne of all people would have a band? And here I am, part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the story he told about, you know, when Zayne wanted to play guitar for the family the first time. And, you know, I love his honesty in this story. He's like, oh, you know, we you know, even if he wasn't going to be good, we're going to
applaud, right?
Applaud, you know, and encourage him, you know, because we've all been there, you know, like, I mean, how many times did my parents do that to me? You know, hey,
that's good.
Thanks, you know. But Zayne blew him away. I guess people didn't clap. At first, they were paused.
Like, what just happened? Yeah, he said, man, we forgot to clap. You know, like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah, because he had been there. He had seen, you know, the trials and tribulations leading up to this point, and what can you expect? You know, you just got to do. I mean, that's a normality. I mean, you know, anybody on the spectrum or not on the spectrum, you know, deserves that sort of, you know, family, that encouragement. You know, whether you're going to be great or not. Yeah. And Zayne's just like, hold my beer and watch this. You know,
that's it. That's it. I mean, yeah, and that's why I love when he talks about to hear his take, because he's going to come from there's a degree of depth that he's able to express because he was there, because he's seen.
Yeah.
You know, and we certainly have had our share of conversations about it. So we learned early on that if you put it out there, you're more likely to create advocates, as opposed to if you don't, you're more likely to create adversaries.
Now, when you say put it out there,
put the truth out there.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, when Zayne was growing up, we grew up on a cul-de-sac, kids everywhere, and man, we learned early on, like, listen, we got to say something to these kids, you know, because you know people say, oh, kids can be cruel. Well, kids can be cruel, sure. But a lot of times they just come from an honest place. They don't know, they don't understand, and if you don't take the time to tell them, teach them, you know, don't try to play them for suckers. You know, say, hey, here's what it is, you know. And they're like, oh, okay. There was a woman in our neighborhood. Whenever she goes to see Zayne play, she winds up crying. Somewhere in that performance, she's gonna wind up crying. And so one day we're asking like, okay, I get it. I said I should have been moved to tears on more than one occasion. She says, you know what? She said, I just think about the first time I met him. Now I didn't know this, because you think I thought I always had kept a pretty good eye out for him, but there were some times he went poof, disappeared, and I didn't know where he was.
Right.
Well, she said the first time she met Zayne, he was like, you're like 5, 6 years old, and he was standing in her living room, and she said, she came home like, okay, there he's standing there, and he didn't say a whole lot, and she says, hello there. He's like, hi. And she's like, okay. She's like, who's this? And her daughter was like,
she didn't know Zayne
she did
at
not
all?
know who it was. She didn't know. She was like, who's like? And her daughter was like, oh, that's Zayne, mommy. She says, oh, okay. Well, hello, Zayne. So, and then she said, he just didn't know. They just went on back outside, and he hopped back on his bike, and off he went on his bike. It's like, okay, that was Zayne. Didn't say a whole lot, and he would just he would always ride his bike on the cul-de-sac there, and just ride his bike, and he would participate as much or as little as he wanted to with the other kids. And we explained to the kids, him being on the spectrum, and sometimes he might not say a whole lot, or he might do some little quirky, or but hey, he's because sometimes he would stand next to the kids, and you could see he wanted to say something, but he didn't quite know how to engage. Yeah. So he would just kind of stand there next to him, like he kind of eyes shifting around, looking at him like I want to be. I'm with you guys. I'm in the group, but he didn't know what to say, and they were cool just letting him be who he was. Once they were told, then they became advocates for him. Then they began to speak for him.
Yeah.
So what happened was, we met the neighbors through the kids by them saying, "Oh, that's Zayne, mommy. He lives right there." And that's how we wind up meeting the neighbors through the kids. So just by putting it out there. Whereas we've heard one of the benefits of the school that Zayne went to, where it was kids on the spectrum and kids, typical developing kids, is that you meet all kinds of parents. And we heard enough stories from parents that did not put it out there like that. So when, I know a friend of ours where some neighborhood kids were asking questions like, well, why does he talk funny? What do you mean he talks funny? He didn't talk funny.
Yeah.
You talk funny. And so now you've attacked the kids.
Right.
So they're like, whoa, you're an adult attacking children for asking a question. Your child, in their ears, the child talks funny. So, but instead of taking the time to explain it and turn these kids into, because people like to know something everybody else don't know. So you could have taken those kids, schooled them, and then they can say, oh yeah, well, they want to impress other kids because they know something. Well, right. he's autistic. He just has this. I understand him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have turned it into something positive that had a positive impact on your child by just being upfront about it. Instead, all your pain came out and you lashed out at this kid. What do you mean? Talk funny? He don't talk funny. And you attacked him. So now it's like you lost a chance to have advocates. Now you got adversaries.
Yeah, and that's being defensive like that. Like that person probably feels like that's all they can do because they don't know how to engage themselves. They don't know how to appropriately explain it. Like there might be, I don't know. It's that whole going back to we don't talk about it. We don't. Yeah, we just keep it quiet and shove it in the closet, and then we'll just defend it with somebody. What do you mean you talk funny? And that's unfortunately how a lot of society has looked at many cases. Well, just You know, here's the copy and paste answer of how to handle this situation, and just roll with that.
Right.
You know, he's not gonna be able to read. He's not gonna be able to use his hands very well. You're just gonna have to learn how to work with that. You know, and that's not the case. And like you said, you know, going out to those kids, speaking to them, educating them. You know, and it's not just kids. That's everybody.
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 We did it. We did it with the adults in the music community. You know.
Yeah.
Because it was like, hey, you know, understand. Hey, he's he's on the spectrum. You know, because especially when anytime someone has a disability, we call them invisible disabilities. You know, because you can't look at someone and tell that something's going on with them. You know what I mean? So as opposed to if you saw someone who had a wheelchair or someone that walked with crutches or had a deformed arm, some type of physical deformity, you know, you would understand. You're not gonna tell somebody that's walking with a limp to, hey, hustle up, man, hurry up, man, I'm behind you, hurry up. You know, it's like you can see something's going on there. You know. Whereas with these invisible type disabilities, or you don't really see what's going on, you know. So Zayne may say something that might be deemed inappropriate, or asking a question, or
he loves to talk. So like when he gets out certain things, like he's had conversations with me, and I'm just like, that's a lot of information, a lot of private information you shared.
Yeah, right. Right. You know, so it's like, it's like it helps in understanding, because we know that there's so much that we don't know, and we rely on other people, you know. So like for example, somebody made a comment one time. We were at an open mic, and we always stay to the bitter end, you know. So we see every performer.
Yeah, you do.
You know, and I guess part of it is I'm like, well, man, you know, these people that go first, they want to get up there, do their thing, and hey, you guys have to take care now. They've done their bit, you know. And to me, there's always like a ring of selfishness to that. Yeah. To me, you know. And there's certain opinions I know over the years. I've kind of developed about musicians as a whole. Just, you know, I said, how many jobs are there where you get almost an instant gratification in the form of applause? You know, that must does something to the human psyche after a while. You know, so it's because most people don't live like that. Yeah. but anyway, these so we would stay to the bitter end because we were trying. I mean, truthfully, you're trying to curry as much favor as you can. You know, there's only so much control you have over it, but you are trying to gain the favor of people. You know, hey, because there's something that we need. There's something we're trying to get. So at the very least, you know, let us repay you by at least being attentive when you perform, even if you're dead last.
Right.
We're gonna be here and watch every single performer perform, and we're gonna try to pay attention to every performer, and we're gonna let them know that, hey, you know, nice job. You know, we're gonna go to the person who's holding it. Hey, thank you so much for letting us letting us take part. Really appreciate it. And because, like I said, you're just trying to build relationships. You know, like I said, I'm going back to that restaurant thing. I mean, you know, the same Miller Lite that your restaurant sells, you do realize that same Miller Lite's being sold at that restaurant, this restaurant, that over there. So a person has to drive. They may drive past 15 places selling Miller Lite to come to your place to have a Miller Lite. Well, why are they coming to your place?
Right.
You know,
What atmosphere have you established?
yeah. So someone along the line, you made those people feel special. You know, made it feel important. I was talking about a place just the other day where the wife, it was a husband and wife, and the wife was the personality. She was the warm one. She was the front of the house person. The husband, he should never step foot in the front of the house. He was gruff.
Yeah.
He was not smart about, you know, how this business worked in terms of being able to have people come into your establishment. He didn't get it, and the place is no longer around. And I'm like, you should have stayed in the back of the house, brother. You should have stayed in the back of the house and let her take care of the front of the house. Let her be the face of the operation.
Yeah, know your role.
Know your role. Know your role. You know, keep your ego in check. Know your role, because you gotta be thinking about the overall objective. You know, I say a Blue Spectrum was a car. Gwen is the gasoline. No matter how awesome a car looks and how shiny it looks and it looks great, if it has no gas, it's not moving.
Right.
It's not moving an inch. But you also don't see the gas in operation either. You know that it's there because the car moves. You know, so that's what she does. Those things that Ben knows nothing about. You know. They just look up one day and they're signed up for a gig, and they just told where to be, what time to be there.
So do you and Gwen split these responsibilities, or does she kind of run the ship a little bit more? Or?
So we've learned that it works best if you have some type of division, or what we do is everything is collaborative, but somebody got to make the final call. So it just kind of depends on where the issue falls in at. So anything regarding marketing, she has the final say. So I can give my 2 cents about it, and she may decide to go with that. It's on her. But I'm not going to get upset with her if she chooses to do something else, because that's her responsibility.
And there's a trust there.
There's a trust. Because that's the thing. It's like, you know what? She calls me her and Zayne the three-legged stool. It's like when you know your role, it's like it's all you have everyone has the same objective. So as long as you have the same objective in mind, you know, then I trust that you're going to make the best decision for us because you have the objective in mind. And you know, so I mean, even within the band, you know, people come and go, and people have their own individual objectives, and that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. People have their own individual objectives. They may not understand team objectives, you know, and I've had to learn, like, you know what, that needs to be okay. That needs to be okay. If it were totally up to me, there were certain things I would want the band members to do, but like, you know what? Nah, because they're not going to do it with the heart that I bring to it.
Right.
You know, I'm motivated as a dad. You know, I do this out of the love of my son. Well, that's not fair to expect a member of the band to match me on that. They can't.
No, fair enough, but at the same time, there's this element of, you know, like, you know, us parents, we're not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
You know, so there's almost this responsibility to, you know, put somebody in that spot. And again, lean on trust. It might not be the same love that you have.
Yeah.
But you define somebody that has love, you know.
Yeah. But we're also saying how, like, you know, like, do people have the same view of the mission? You know, we were just talking about a little while ago about people who maybe hold a certain position within an organization, and then you look up and they're gone from that position.
Yeah.
Because they really didn't have a heart for it to begin with. They didn't really have anybody personal in their life dealing with that matter. So there's nothing to draw them to it, you know. So it doesn't have the same degree of urgency. It doesn't have the same degree of importance.
So do you feel like there could be somebody to take that spot when needed?
Yeah. I mean, I don't look for it within the band, you
Right.
know. But yeah, it would have to be someone. I mean, we've got some folks in mind.
Okay, that's
yeah.
where I was hoping you would say something like that, because
Yeah.
it'd be
Some folks in mind, that is able to carry it forward. And big part of it too is also in educating Zayne. That's a big part of what we do too. Educating him.
yeah.
You know, working with him to and keep training him. Our role as parents doesn't stop. I know some folks that once their child turns 18, they're just like, okay, I'm done parenting. You're 18. You're on your own. It's like, that's not our philosophy.
My parents are in their 60s. They're still parenting.
Yeah.
Me every day.
Yeah. It's
Every
like
day.
it's like it's still it's part of the job. So. And it's kind of cool. I mean, I've had, like I said, and it's caused I've had to make some adjustments, and still adjusting, like for example, anytime Zayne does something outside of Blue Spectrum, like last week he played with a country band last week. Well, on the country band's advertising, it had this guy's name. It was Alan Carl. It said the Alan Carl Band featuring Zayne Harshaw of Blue Spectrum. So the Blue Spectrum name is always put out there.
Yeah.
Anytime Zayne does something on a solo or he's with somebody else, it's always Zayne of Blue Spectrum. And from a marketing perspective, and the thing is, what people don't understand about marketing is that we know what Budweiser is, we know what Miller is, we know what Coca-Cola is, we know what McDonald's is, yet they still keep making commercials, don't they? They still engage in print advertising. They still engage in internet marketing. Still, even though we know what their products are. So marketing is like you still have to cut through the noise. You still got to keep your name out there. Well, how do you go about keeping your name out there? How do you do that?
You stick with your brand.
How do you stick with a brand?
Yeah.
And they don't. I'm not quite sure they don't quite get that. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? This is, as Gwen said, this is our baby. So we bought the name. We had the name trademarked.
I remember that. I remember that somebody tried to fight you on that, didn't they?
Well, we went to the National Office of Patents and Trademarks, and it's like, it's a nice little hefty fee, and we had to get an attorney to file the paperwork for you. It takes about a year.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it took a year.
It takes about a year for that whole process. And then before they finally notify you as, okay, you now own the name from Maine to California. And it was kind of cool because there was another band in Michigan that was using the Blue Spectrum name. And it was kind of cool sending a cease and desist letter. And I always jokingly say that if that band had been in any other state but Michigan, we probably would have let it slide. But so,
wasn't that band, didn't they try to reach out to you? And
they did.
Yeah.
They did. It was funny was they reached out to us. One of the guys in their band reached out to us about, maybe about 2 months before everything was completed, So I'm like, man, he felt real bad, like, oh man, I done messed up, But we were. Gwen was always concerned that something would happen, something would come along and take the name from us, because then it's not about who has it the longest.
Right.
It's who files what, who pays to file what. So we did that, and we don't ask anybody from the band to pay that. We know Gwen and I paid that, so it belongs to us, and we're the one. And it's like I learned a while back certain decisions that we made regarding the band, because it was our son's vision. There's like I said, once the gift got revealed to us, then out of a spiritual responsibility, then the provision that's given to you to pick that thing up and carry it, then that's what we do, and that's what I feel like what we're supposed to do.
Oh, and you guys, again, I mean, you do it well. Everyone sees the car, you know, and you guys keep it full of fuel. You know, you are the fuel that keeps it going.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like when Zayne started playing guitar and he started going out to open mics, like what brought you into the world of open mics? Did you just happen to go to one? Was there a friend running it?
So,
and also on that, how did open mics help Zayne grow?
Good question. So remember the conversation with the lady that talked about her son, and Gwen wanted to run and take Zayne to the blues camp. The blues camp was basically step one. Was our introduction to the whole musical foray. So in that blues camp, there was one evening, hey, by the way, there's a blues jam Wednesday night. And we're like, oh, okay. And here's the address. And to show you how ignorant we were, I mean, I'm driving down looking for a place that says, the place called Blues Jam. You know, I'm looking for a place called Blues Jam, you know. So this place was in German Village. And we're like, okay. So we go there. And it was weird. I can remember us kind of standing around like, so what do we do? How's this work? You know, you kind of looking around like, you know, just kind of looking around at everybody, just absolutely clueless.
How old is Zayne at this time?
Clueless. And he's like around 17, okay. 18. You know, just like, okay, we're at a blues jam, you know, like, okay, you know, what the heck is this? So and a lady came in and says, oh, by the way, approaches us, you know, once again, like as if she knows us, you know, and hey, you know, we're having one Sunday. Oh, okay. I don't know what this is, but we're having a blues jam Sunday. Here's the address. Come out Sunday. We're starting around 5:00. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, okay. So we see that, okay, he's playing with people, you know. So you just kind of you're learning how these things work and how, okay, there's a band and you play with the band, or there's a sign-up sheet and these people come together, and like I said, we don't play anything. So I'm like, well, how do people who never played together just suddenly just start playing together? How's that work? You know, just trying to figure it all out. Then you go to other, you know, as you go to one, you learn about the existence of others. Hey, there's an R&B one over at this club on Saturday nights, and there's an rock and roll one over on this night. And I mean, it got to a point where we were literally going to open mics 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh wow!
You know, literally, we had somewhere to go just about every night, and we were going. I mean, Gwen made this one comment during this whole pandemic season, how we were getting our house in order, you know, getting things fixed. And she said, you know, if this house was a child, it would say we abused it. You know, we neglected it. You know, this child would file, you know, charges against us. We'd be in court right now.
Get emancipated, yeah.
You know, because you take those resources and you just reallocate them. You know, it's all about, because once again, in trying to curry good favor and build good relationships, we're staying there the whole time. So we're like one of the first ones to arrive, one of the last ones to leave. So we're there the entire time. We're there to meet people. And also, we're also there because we see that, okay, these jams are held inside these restaurants, bars and restaurants that serve food. Then we'll have dinner here too. So we'll spend money. So now we're gaining favor with the management ownership of the establishment of the venue. And once again, have my former restaurant background. You know who your regulars are.
Yeah.
And why, and you treat them how they get treated special because why? Because they spend their money here.
Yeah.
They could go anywhere else and get that Miller Lite, but they're coming here
Because they feel a part of the team. I mean, how many customers have I had? You know, when I was in restaurants, or even you see at bars. You know, just specifically bars, like you know the guy who's there every day at the end of the bar takes the trash out.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Because that's his.
And
role.
you don't
That's
think
how
twice about it.
Yeah.
I got that. I'll do that for you.
Yeah, because he's part of the crew. You know, that's what they have established with him.
I've watched patrons walk behind bars, walk behind the bar. That's supposed to be holy ground.
Right.
But they'll walk back there and grab. Oh, you need a straw? I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
They know where straws are, and just it's like, and no one says a word. You know, but yeah. So now you've gained you know, it's like now you know you've established yourself as a good patron. You're you know friendly. You want to be of you know a good character. We're teaching Zayne those same attributes. Here's the way that you carry yourself, and particularly because of his gift, for him not to become arrogant in the midst of that.
Yeah.
You know that you honor your gift by treating people a particular way. You know, you honor your gift and you honor the gift giver by treating people as gifts. That's what we've constantly taught Zayne and continue to teach Zayne. I've heard enough stories from folks that's like, hey man, you don't ever want to meet your heroes, man. Don't want to meet your idols, man. I mean, I had a buddy of mine, a musician. He got to open up for a particular artist, and man, he just had such a respect and admiration for this artist. And he's like, man, I can't wait to meet the guy, man. So let him know how much of a fan I am, and it's an honor to open for him. And this guy was such a jerk. Such a jerk. To the point where the guy couldn't even believe, he couldn't even believe that the guy treated him that badly.
Wow.
You know, he was stunned. Like, wow. I'm just saying how much it is, just how nice it is just to meet the guy and just to be, you know, wow. But this guy had gotten so much adulation in his gift and his talent that now he's too cool. He's too cool to be kind, you know. So, and people now are just there for you can just wipe your butt, you know, they can just wipe your butt now, you know. So it's like, you know what? I don't ever want that spoken of, you know, for our son. So he's to be taught, you know. So we teach, and we taught him that, and we still teach that, you know, because we see. I mean, got some stories, man. I mean, people that just sometimes women, man, oh man, there were some women that throw themselves at him. You know, it's bananas. Some of these, oh my gosh.
Maybe I should start learning to play guitar better.
Oh my gosh, man, oh man, oh man. But, you know, and he's also read books, you know. It's funny, you know, one of the things the doctors told us, you know, he would never read. He does read. And he's read, you know, these autobiographies and biographies of different artists and different stories they tell about, you know, the rock and roll lifestyle, you know. So, we've had to teach. It's constantly you're constantly teaching. It's like, no, Zane, we don't think that's appropriate, and here's why.
Yeah.
That
was that person's lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. Don't think just because. Oh, he went through a period. I remember one time, when the band first started off, it was all autistic teenagers, and we noticed that he was coming to practice and he was arguing. He would seemed like he would just start arguments with people. I'm like, what is your problem? Oh, it's okay, Dad. I was reading about Guns N' Roses, and Axl and Slash would get into it. It's cool. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Oh.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait. And you forget that's the autistic mind being so literal.
Right. Just like you said, watching somebody drink on stage,
This is what I'm supposed to do.
And that, Axl Rose is not a great role model.
Yeah, he's thinking like, oh, okay, band members fight. Okay, cool. I haven't been fighting with my band members, so I need to work on that.
Yeah.
So they say because of practice, like, and he's starting arguments. I'm like, what is your deal? Are those like noticing? And I'm like, no, man, that's not how it goes, man. No. It was funny. I mean, once we got wind of it, once we were able to figure it out what he was doing, and he explained it to us, like, okay, no, dude, it doesn't work like that. Not cool. Not cool.
That's got to be something that has to be a constant check. You have to constantly put that in check, right? Like what he's reading and how he is absorbing this information, and like what information he's absorbing rather.
Yeah, and sometimes there's times when you're like, oh my goodness, is he ever gonna get it? And then sometimes it's kind of funny, So, like he was like sarcasm. He when when he started to perceive sarcasm, you could just say anything to him sarcastically, and he would like not get it, And you forget, you're like, oh, he didn't, So what's the point of saying it sarcastically if he's not going to understand it, Well, over time, he began to understand, this thing called sarcasm. So it was always so funny. You'd say something, he'd go, wait a minute, that was sarcasm, wasn't it, Dad? And I'm like, yes, Zane, that was sarcasm. It's okay. I got it, So, nice. And to the point where he started practicing sarcasm, So it was kind of cool. It's been fun to have that kind of adventure with him.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like it again, every time you and I sit down and talk, you always tell me a new story, and it's an interesting just growth, in this lifestyle, and you enjoy the journey, it's at times like that, there's times to sit back and laugh. There's times that, well, we got to handle this now, but maybe we'll laugh about it later.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a beautiful thing. And real quick, just going back to the open mics real fast. How did exactly that help Zayne, like where he was before he started going open mics, and how he is, to this day and growing, because obviously, I run an open mic, so I'm very curious about this side of it, and
open mics were so pivotal, absolutely pivotal, because they were so frequent. It was something that we got to do. And I remember I told you we went 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And of course you got to see different people and who ran them differently and that sort of thing. But just staying with the constant theme of going to an open mic and why they were so important, because you got to constantly work it out. Whenever you ever seen when comedians, before they go on a road, they go on a big tour. Well, before they go on that big tour, they've walked into certain comedy clubs all around the country.
Yeah,
walk in,
hashed it out,
just work it out. So you're at the Funny Bone one night, and they say, "Hey man, you're not gonna believe this, but Chris Rock just walked up in here." or
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle just walked up in here. You know, and he wants to get. I mean, who's gonna say no? You can't get on the mic. And if you're there, you're like, I ain't got nowhere to go. Do it. So they get up there. They say, I just want to work some material. I just want to work something out. So they work out that material. They got to get on that stage. Got to get that frequency going. And that's what the open mic was. It was a frequency. It was constantly doing it. You go out there and you work it out, work it out, work it out. I remember one time a buddy of ours who was a frequent open mic, he once told Zayne, well, open mic's the best place to go to work out a new song. You know, you don't have to wait till it's worked all the way out to bring it here.
Yeah.
You can this way you bring it out. Go ahead and bring it here.
And that's something I always try to tell people, because I know many musicians that have often said, well, I haven't practiced enough lately. You know, I'll come out when I run through my songs more. Like, no, you're missing the point of open mic. The point is come out, hash it out. You know, get involved with the culture. You know, you'll get ideas. You'll hear support. You'll hear constructive criticism.
Yeah.
You know.
So for him, and that's what it was. I mean, by constantly working it out, where he just got, as a musician, he just got better and better and better and better. We would go to the open mics, be there till 11, 12 o'clock, and then after that, go home, and he's up till 3, 4 in the morning, working out what he just saw somebody else do, and he's incorporating it, watching and incorporating, watching and incorporating, watching and incorporating. It was constant. So just as he sat there and watched videos of Stevie Ray Vaughan, or watched videos of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix and whomever else, he could just go to YouTube and see and watch them over and over and over again. Now he's got these guys live and living color in his face. And he can sit there. He would say, Dad, I need to go sit in the front. I need to watch his hands. So Zayne would go sit in the front. And he would stare. And I'm like, okay, I need to go talk to these guys, make sure like they're okay, because this kid is staring at. Because these guys realize, like, okay, this kid's staring at me. Like,
he's not just watching; he's staring.
He's whatever process he's going to absorb what it is you're doing. And there's something in trust. There's something that you did tonight that he's going to take. You know, so I mean, I specifically remember. We were sitting there with a blues artist one night. When Zayne was playing at he was playing the Hannah Creekside, and Zayne did some lick he hit, and I'm sitting there with this artist. He said, "I think I showed him that."
Oh yeah, I've heard this.
And I kind of chuckled. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever, dude." And lo and behold, when Zayne got done, he ran down the stairs and he went straight to that artist. And he said, "Hey, did you see when I did that?" He told him what it was. The guy said, "I thought I showed you that. I thought that was me." You know.
And you're like, "Oh man, I thought you was full of shit."
I said, "Oh yeah, right." I'm like, "Oh, okay." You know, so he got to be, and also too, it created not just him developing as an artist, but you got to remember when you're dealing with a kid on the spectrum. They don't have their own friends, you know. They don't have their own tribe, and they're a lot of loners. A lot of things that the parents and caregivers in this community, one thing that's a constant kind of thing that we struggle with, is just that lack of socialization that takes place. Well, here he's found his tribe. Yeah. He's found his crew. He can go there, and guess what? He is a musician, and he and those guys, they look past the autism. It's not the thing now. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, but that's Zayne, and that's just who he is. That's just part of who he is. Yeah, it's not absolutely all of who he is, but it's part of who he is. But there's this. But I'm getting to know him. I'm getting to know him, and he's getting to know me. And you know what? I like this kid. I like this guy. He's a good guy. He's a nice kid. Nice guy. So now it's become more than just playing music. Now it's, I want to go see my friends. that is altogether different. That's the
Yeah.
unexpected thing, that we didn't foresee. So even when time has gone by, you know what? I want to go. Let's go see so and so. Let's go bug Cade tonight. Let's go see what he's doing. I mean,
and thanks for the heads up on that too.
yeah,
Because there's something another open mic host told you once, right? Like, if Zayne's going to go out to an open mic, you might want to give them a heads up.
right now. And see, so then over time, then it started to become that. Then it became like, okay, he's getting there's a degree of celebrity that he's getting now locally, that they're starting to know who he is now. And you got not just other artists, other musicians getting to know who he is, but these guys who run these guys who run these open mics know who he is. So because we arrive early, like I said, we arrive early. So we could easily say, okay, well, just, sign him up first or sign him second, whatever. Well, they're like, well, that creates a problem for us. We can't, and more than one host has told us this. Like, listen, we need to establish almost like the Zayne rules. He either has, if he goes first, he needs to be the feature.
Yeah.
I remember going to a jam session one night, an open mic one night, and there was a dry erase board, and Zayne was number 7. And we were having dinner with the guy who was number 11. So Zayne was getting ready to go up, and the guy's like pulling his guitar. He's tuning his guitar like he's getting ready to go up. And I'm like, well, you still got a ways to go. He said, no, I don't. I said, oh, I said you're 11, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, Zayne's 7. I said, you still got 8, 9, and 10. He said, look at the board. The guys who were at 7, 8, 9, or 8, 9, and 10 erased their names off the board.
Ooh. They
were not going to play behind Zayne.
Yeah, that's definitely an intimidating situation. Because Zayne brings such a show, he's such a powerhouse, event. I remember when you came out to my open mic last week, I had to ask the guy who went up after Zayne on the board. I'm like, hey, you sure you want to go up after Zayne? And he hadn't seen Zayne before. He said, man, it's fine. I'll go up after Zayne. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, as a host, if Zayne goes earlier in the night, like, I'll be that buffer. I'll play after Zayne and then bring it back
bring
down.
The energy down a little bit.
Bring it down a little bit. So so and so over here who's just does this for fun doesn't feel intimidated because he's so good at what he does, and it can be discouraging almost to go up after him. And I've heard that not just with him but other multiple real highly talented musicians. People don't want to follow them. And it's a crazy aspect, but it is a thing.
Yeah. I mean, Zayne dresses for an open mic the same way he dresses for a show.
Yeah.
He prepares an outfit.
It's the same, and that's a great integrity to have when you're performing. It doesn't matter if there's one person in the bar or 50 people or 500 people. You play it the same every time.
Yeah. So we learned that when he shows up, it's like, okay, hey, give him a heads up, let him know hey, we're coming. I'm bringing Zayne, and so you can handle how you want to handle it, and like I said, we don't mind going last. If he plays in front of one person, he don't care. It's just a lot of times he just wants to get out the house and just go play. So it's not even a thing. So, but yeah, it's
and so just to kind of bring it all back together, being his father, watching Zayne through his early years, and pre-guitar. And your concerns, and you doing the best you can to make sure you develop this, correctly, so Zayne can live a fairly normal life. And what seeing him now, do you feel like all that hard work paid off? Or, I mean, and I'm not saying that this is the end. You know, obviously there's a future that that you still have to think about. But
at this point, yes. He's for one, he's happy. Top of the list. He's happy. He enjoys what he does, and he's appreciative. He often says, "Hey, Mom, Dad, thank you so much for what you do." He's very aware, and we don't. And we're not the type of parents like, do you know what we do for you? Do you see what we do for you? we don't say a word. We just go about our business in a yeoman's fashion and just do our thing, But he will often say, "Man, thank you so much." I know a lot of times you're not thanked for what you do. People don't always see what you guys do, but I see it. And I thank you for it. You guys, I'm sorry for some of the things that you have to go through sometimes, but I thank you.
The nature of the business. Hey, it's
he gets it.
Yeah,
he gets it. And that's to me that's really all I need. As long as he gets it and he understands it, yeah. So that lets us know, okay, so he's understanding. So now we can elevate and move to the next step, move to the next level and keep him abreast of what's going on. We constantly keep him abreast of what's happening. We always talk to him, hey, you need to be in on this decision making. You need to know what's going on. You need to get your face out the iPad and you need to get over here. You need to get a clue of what's happening. Yeah. This is about you.
And I just going off yesterday, I mean, he came up to me multiple times and thanked me, and it was very appreciative, of the situation. He's got a good heart. He's always had a good heart, and I'm just glad to see him out, and comfortable enough to approach, me or anybody, and just engage with them and thank them and show appreciation. He has good parents, man. He really does. And you and Gwen are just from the little that I know of you guys are amazing people. And as I said, for me, my experience, I know I come across as this extrovert on stage and all this stuff, but people who know me know, when I'm off stage, I kind of hide in the corner.
That's so funny.
But I go, when I see you or Gwen there, you're one of that crew, and I go talk to you guys because I feel comfortable with you, and I'll sit with you, and I can have a genuine conversation, no expectations, no talking shop. We just talk, we just share stories and laugh and and bullshit, and so in my eyes, that little glimpse I see of you guys, it's very present, the situation that you created for Zayne and how you handled it. And it's almost even in your missteps, things that you regret were in their own right the right decision, because you grew from that. You didn't know how to handle that situation. You didn't know. There's no book. Or there's probably lots of literature, but it's there's no book of experience, and those regrets that you have, when you no, he doesn't have perfect pitch. That was you growing.
Yeah.
And you learning, oh man, I'm at that's not all parents have that capability to see that fault in themselves, and that's not a bad thing. Fault is good.
Yeah, agreed.
As long as you identify it and course correct. And it seems like you and Gwen have done an amazing job doing that, and Zayne is very lucky to have you, and we're very lucky to have Zayne.
Yeah, he's we've it's been interesting in talking to you, and you're just on a long list of musicians that talk about coming off extroverted but really being kind of introverted.
Yeah, it's rampant. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, rampant.
And I mean, I mean, when we talk about all the time, like, you the mistake that people make is because, particularly for those of us that don't know how to play anything. So we marvel. It's funny to us because if someone can play "Mary Had a Little Lamb" on a guitar, or a piano, or a trumpet, or whatever, I'm intrigued because I can't play anything. So I'm like, wow, So it's but. And what happens is, I think for the layperson, when you see people that are operating in their gifts and talents, that you'll attribute that dynamic to all other aspects of their personhood, and that's just not so.
Right.
It's like, no, I am a dynamo on this stage. When I'm doing me up here and I'm playing, man, this is when I am my most comfortable. This part of my personality, I'm able to express with ease, and which is the opposite of a lot of folks. You talking about getting up on stage and all these people looking at you, and most people are like, I'm being nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, But musicians, on the other hand, are up there like, whew, finally, I can breathe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, But when they come off stage, so in that respect, they identify with Zayne.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They identify with him. So they may say something like, well, hey, you know what? I don't have a diagnosis per se. Maybe if I was under enough scrutiny, they probably could get one for me. But as it stands right now, I don't have one. But I identify with Zayne. I too am more comfortable on stage. Zayne says I was born to do this. So I don't think that's unique to Zayne. I think a lot of musicians feel the exact same way. That they're just it's such a powerful essence that they bring to the stage that is almost to the point like I was born to do this. This is where I'm at. This is where I am the most me, and people see it. But then you get off stage and it's like, whew.
Yeah, and you're right.
The light goes dim.
It goes across. It's across the board. I know so many musicians and other artists that are just very much like that, and it's almost like a little powwow. Like I know I'll call him out here, Rick Barr. I remember we happened to play this show together, like 2013, something like that. We've known each other. We met each other in 2012 at a singer-songwriter competition that I held. And that's when I first met him. But anyway, long story short, we met there, and like I was just kind of sitting by myself, and I looked over at Rick. I'm like, "Hey, man, can I come sit with you?" And like we just started talking. I was like, "Yeah, all these people are making me nervous. Like I'm like almost shaking because when I don't know anybody, I get very closed up." And like he was in shock. He's like, "You? Yeah, you really? You held this entire competition and you're scared of these people?" Right. And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dude, I'm the same exact way." He's like, and then you talk to more musicians and you realize it's across the board. And so you're absolutely right. That we totally relate to Zayne in that aspect.
Yeah. And they picked that up in him. And particularly when a couple of them have marveled after watching him, what he does on stage. And then when he's done, and then they kind of see what he does afterwards.
Yeah.
Then they're like, whoa, did not expect that. It's like, okay, what just happened here? I mean, I remember Buddy was like, he said, man, if that was me, and if I just did what he just did just now, he said, man, I'd be all over this place like I was running for office, And he said, but he's over there with his iPad and he's back into another world.
Oh yeah, and like if I go see Blue Spectrum when I saw you guys at Papa Boo's, I think it was last year or the year before, I sat at Zayne's table, like because again, it was just how I do. I latched, and there's no expectations, no uncomfortableness. I know Zayne's world when he's off stage, he's sitting over here. So I'm going to hang out with this guy. This is my table. This is where I'm comfortable at. So God bless him for that.
Yeah. So like I said, man, it has been absolute education. But yeah, man, the jams where we cut our teeth when we had this last party, this birthday party for him. There was this organization that we were doing a virtual event for. And then afterwards, it just happened to fall on Zayne's birthday. So we said, let's just make a birthday party out of it. Let's just invite some musicians to come out, hang out with us, and let's just jam, And part of that was to simply say thank you. And we invited a lot of those open jam hosts. We invited out. To know that when they see Zayne play, that as they enjoy that, know that they helped bring that along, that they played a hand in that. They played a hand in that by going to those jams, by learning, by befriending. We would tell the host, hey, man, if he does something, man, tell him, because after a while, there's only so much mom and dad can tell him. Particularly he says, well, Dad, you don't really play anything. Oh. So like, okay, so it's like my credibility takes a shot, because I don't play anything. But Rick Barr could say something to him, and he was like, hey, Dad, Rick said, hey, okay. Rick, I gotta do this because Rick said this.
Yeah, Stevie says, "Don't set up while musicians
Stevie
play."
Said, right. So
because he cut my sound out twice when I first met him.
Right. So we're like, "Hey, man, tell him," and that's how he learns. He's learned so much. He's learned so much from you guys, and that is, that's just been. Thank you so very much for doing what you do. Even inviting us out to come, Sunday. He wasn't there for money. He wasn't there to get, paid for that. He was there like, hey, we're trying to establish something. He gets it. He knows. He knows there's a business side to show business. So this is what we do. He gets it. He understands. We talk. He's privy to the conversations that Gwen and I have at home when we're talking about marketing and getting the name out there and doing what we do. That he is the we call him the tip of the spear. So he is the biggest. He's the best infomercial we have for Blue Spectrum. And he gets it. We're able to keep the Blue Spectrum name out there because of what he does. Yeah. And how we market that. I wish every member of the band they would do something would say, hey, so and so a Blue Spectrum, but they don't. It don't really cross their mind to do that for whatever reason. But it's like, okay, it is what it is. But they get the benefit of it. They get. All their cachets have risen. Yeah. Every member of the band, their cachet has risen because of being tied to Blue Spectrum.
There's there could be multiple projects that maybe somebody in the band is a part of too. So there's that aspect of it as well. Yeah. Like if you say Stevie Cade, you're not going to say Stevie Cade of music. You might, but you might say Stevie Cade of Film Trigger, and Stevie Cade, when you have so many things circling around you,
I had to learn that.
Yeah,
I did. I thought that, musicians. I thought it was that you're loyal to this band over here. I didn't see where musicians. Oh, he's in this, he's in that, he's in this, he's in this.
Yeah,
it was almost like. you were cheating or something, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, we encourage it. I mean, like Ron J plays with somebody else, Tommy Lee, and he plays with other people. And
Right.
I highly he tells me the stories. I lift him up.
Yeah, it took.
Yeah.
It took him.
Yeah.
It took a little time for me to be able to grasp that. I'm like, oh, wait a second, and say, okay, so they may not say overtly, of Blue Spectrum, but because of the prominence of Blue Spectrum, other people, when they see them, know that, okay, that's the so-and-so of Blue Spectrum. They know because of our efforts of constantly keeping that name out there.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the, what's that? The rising tide raises all the ships. So as the name Blue Spectrum rises there, then those individual ships are going to rise with it. Like I said, every member of the band, their individual cachet has risen, being tied to Blue Spectrum, without question.
And again, you guys are the wind in that sails. You and Gwen are the wind in those sails, and that's a beautiful thing. And kind of going back when you said thank you for what you do on behalf of all open mic hosts, like it's our pleasure. Like it's always a pleasure to have anybody out there, especially somebody like Zayne who could have said, "Oh, I'm better than this." I'll see you guys whenever. No, you guys and Zayne always come out, always pay it forward, always respectful, and always giving back. So thank you for that. Thank you for the humbleness and the hard work you put behind this band. You and Gwen, just guiding the ship of Zayne's dream and just building that. You're the wind in the sails, but you're also the god of sea lifting that tide up too. It's you should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of everything that's happened and where it's going. I think we are. We are.
It's been for the most part, it's been a lot of fun. And we've learned a lot along the way, and we've had to grow. This recent event that we had, it took one of the band members to say, hey, wait a second, why don't we take this somewhere else? Leverage these relationships that we have to the band's benefit. You know what? Yeah, it's okay to do that. These organizations get to grow, or these other organizations, they get the benefit of the band doing XYZ for them, and the venue gets the benefit of our advertising them, and the people that come out. It's like, you know what? Let's take this somewhere else and try to get the band booked. Let the band get something out of it. Let us showcase ourselves, and kind of like almost like an audition. Let them see what we can do. It was great. This last event we did up at the Lazy Chameleon, there was a lady that was there that was like, listen, I'm here almost every weekend. I see every band that comes through here. This is the best band I've ever seen on this stage.
Oh, yeah. And did they play some of their originals that night?
They did their thing. And then she even called one of the owners, was like, listen, that event that I'm having in November, I have found the band that I want to play at my event. The praise doesn't get any higher than that.
Yeah.
Because now you're putting your money where your mouth is.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. It was something I was talking to Ron J about yesterday. I was like, man, I hope we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot by bringing Zayne out here. Oh, let me give you some of Stevie's dates. Just joking with him.
I got you.
Because I was like, oh, man, we really we had our guests just outshine us. It's a beautiful thing, though. It's a beautiful thing to have. And it's always a pleasure to have Zayne out. He's welcome to any of my show. He can crash any show he wants of mine. Show up, and stage is always open to him.
Yeah, it got to be where we would go places, and we wouldn't take his guitar with us, And I got checked pretty harshly one night by an artist that said, "Don't you ever take him somewhere and not have his guitar."
Yeah. Oh, I get mad at
She said,
musicians
"Don't
all the
you
time for
ever
doing that.
do that." She said, especially if you bring him to one of my shows, go on, he better have his guitar with him.
I've gotten on to other musicians like don't even play instruments. I'm like, what? You don't have your backing track with you? You know, like what are you doing, man?
Don't just show it. Don't you dare walk into my place to my show and not be ready to do something. So I was like, wow, man. Ooh. You know, so because
That'd be
some artists,
Yeah.
some artists that aren't like that, But but I think there is for the smart ones, for the smart artists, I think there's a degree of credibility that you get. If you're saying, hey man, this is somebody that I helped bring along, because you can righteously say that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's something there's something he learned from you. They learned from Rick. They learned from Aaron Snyder, that he learned at the feet of other guitar players around town, Robert Hughes from Teeny Tucker's band. That's somebody, man. Zayne would, I'm like, he gonna talk that man's ear off. But Zayne would just riddle him with questions, and Robert was always gracious in answering questions. And trying to think who else. But he said, oh, so and so's here, and he want to go and watch him, and he want to pay attention, and so Jerry Lose, another one. There were all these people that he was pulling from, and these guys were gracious with their time, and like I said, the people from the jams, he watched, and he learned. He found his own voice. I think it gave him the courage to sing. I mean, the fact that I remember the first time he sang, we were done. I mean,
yeah, I open mic at my old open mic around the lake. I'll never forget. He's like, "Hey, can you keep that mic up?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Can you keep the mic out?" I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "I'm going to sing." I'm like, "Bullshit. You get it? You serious, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to sing." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll leave this mic open for you." Like, yeah, that was a shock to me to see him sing.
And I still remember we were at the Dolphin, and Lori Dolphin says, "When did he start singing?" And me and Gwen looked at him like, we're like, today? Like, what just happened? What in the world just happened? But seeing other people get up there and sing and express themselves, and and that too was something that we had to learn, that side of things, because like when you come from, unfortunately, music has a racial construct to it. So if you're like grow up listening to certain types of music within a culture, they'll view singing differently than in other cultures, and you'll come to find that out. So if you grow up, particularly like in the African American community, where singing is a premium. So if someone is a good singer, go to a karaoke at an establishment where it's frequently where the patrons are mostly African American, and watch what you get. You rarely you're gonna get the drunken guy. Okay, let me get a song, and some drunk guy get up there and like, hey,
That's almost every karaoke I've been to.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you get around a bunch of black folks at karaoke, it's like you about to see the second coming of Whitney and Luther Vandross and Smokey Robinson. It's like everyone now thinks the record deal is going to be at the end of this song. A record deal's coming,
Right?
The way we view singing. So it's much more where we can be even big name artists talk about playing when you play in front of a black crowd is one of the toughest crowds you'll play in front of, because it's like James Brown told a story playing at the Apollo where he got there and he would throw his cape out there. He said the Apollo, they threw it back. You ain't done nothing yet. So okay, so we have in coming out of the black church, you can have a 12-year-old girl become the soloist of the adult choir if she's better than all the other women. Flat out. It won't be because, well, she's just this. She's only 12. No, 12-year-old Whitney will get the lead solo because she's better than all you ladies. Deal with it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know how we do it here. So, that goes right on over into soul singing, the R&B singing, goes right into it. You better sing, child. You better know how to sing that. So we're not really known for just anybody with old scruffy voice, and we're like, oh yeah, that's great. Blood coming out of my ears, like I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But as you listen to other genres of music, you're like, oh, the singing is not the actual voice in the singing. That premium is not placed. The premium is not as high as the way it's placed on the way black folks put it up there.
Right. I mean, you have Bob Dylan's of the world.
Bob Dylan.
Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's you're right.
If Bob Dylan was relying on black folks, he'd be Bob Dylan working at Burger King.
I can totally see that. So like, so when you bring that up, like, did you bring that up in relation to Zayne getting up and singing?
Yes. So you got, particularly in the blues. So even the black artists that are in blues are not known as quote unquote great singers. Blues singers do not tend to be great singers because they're not supposed to be. It's blues. It's every man's music, every woman's music. I'm telling you a story of country music. I mean, it's like I'm telling you a tale of woe. My truck didn't start this morning. My baby left me. My money's funny, and when that person is singing that song, the listener can relate to it. It's not so much about their voice being of this high caliber. It's the story that they're telling. They're telling you a story. Just listen to the story. Can you relate that? Can you feel that? Yes, I can feel that. Yes, I have been there. Oh man, yeah, okay. Yeah, ooh, yeah, okay. And it's easy for you to sing because it doesn't require you to have a great voice to sing it.
Right.
Because it's in that every person voice. So remember, Zayne is someone, he went to a school that was set up on the premise of you mimic what you see. You got these typical developing kids that's serving as peer models. So he's looking at these peers and modeling this behavior. Well, that didn't stop just because he got out of school. That continues to this day. So now he's around these musicians and he's at these open mics and he's watching these people. Now remember, Zayne has perfect pitch. So he's hearing people that can't sing. He's hearing mostly people that's like, okay, he's off.
Yeah.
She's off.
Oh, yeah. When you're telling me about the perfect pitch, I was over here thinking, man, I wonder how many times Zayne's analyzed my voice.
He hears it. But after a while, it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's not about that.
Right.
And as he's learning that, we're learning that. So now, as we're learning that, it changes what we teach him. Say, hey, you know what? If you're going to do this, keys. Let me show you classic singers that when they go to perform, I remember as a kid watching like Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, those classic singers. They would say, "Okay, hey, we're gonna do Fly Me to the Moon," my key, and he looks over at his piano player, her piano player. Hey, put my key, and they know what that means,
Right.
so they know where to put that song at, because that artist knows their voice and knows their vocal range and knows, okay, bring that song and keep it within that range so it'll sound good.
Yeah. And
So
it's a constant thing. Ron J and I have to communicate, and when we do the songs together, saxophone, and he follows my vocals, and there's certain songs I have to take down to a different key or bring up to a higher key, and like it's constantly, hey, we're doing this, and here, it's so just adapt appropriately, please.
yeah, yeah. So he's it's helped him learn where his vocal range is. So he'll know where to place it, how to sing it, And I'm like, you know what? Here's a kid that I would take him to school. He went to the same school from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I remember vividly where he wouldn't even lift his head up to say good morning to people. As they're saying, "Good morning, Zayne. Good morning, Zayne." And he's like, would barely speak to people. But now he can stand in front, he can get on stage, and now not just speak, but sing. I mean,
Yeah, I remember in that documentary Al was talking about you. I think it was Al, or maybe it was you.
it was Al. I'm sure.
Okay,
it was
yeah,
Al.
about the hugging.
I talked about the hugging. Well,
Oh, okay.
I think, well, Al did make some sort of mention regarding
Yeah.
his development.
Yeah, like
on stage.
you couldn't hug Zayne growing up. We just knew not to hug Zayne, and now Zayne just comes up and just bring it in.
Bring it in.
That's such a powerful thing. What a beautiful story this is. I mean, and I'm so curious to see where this is going to go from here.
Yeah.
Zayne, he's confident. He's in his zone, and he has an excellent crew to help guide the ship. Specifically you and Gwen. I mean, you guys are everything.
It's been. Even the video that was shot. That didn't cost us anything. That's an excellent marketing piece.
And for the
video,
the documentary, who did that anyway?
That was through the Ohio Association of Direct Support Professionals of Ohio. So it's an organization that we have done some things for in the past. Done some presentations at some of their annual conferences and made Zayne available to perform for them. And the executive director, her name is Bethany Toledo. She'd always seen Zayne perform, but she had never seen Blue Spectrum perform. So one day she was able to come out to a Blue Spectrum performance, and she was just blown away. And she's been following the band ever since. And she'd heard the story of Blue Spectrum, but I guess actually seeing them and hearing them, she just kind of got this idea, like, you know what, let's put something together.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that documentary in the description of this video. So
that's fine. Yeah.
So if you're listening, you can head down there right now and click on it.
Yeah. So it's been quite the journey, and like this comes out of relationships that we've built, and work to establish and align ourselves with the mission of or other organizations that benefit a lot of people. One thing I'm real proud of was we did some things with Marshall University over this, like I said, during this whole pandemic season. It was the time for virtual performances.
Yeah.
So
definitely was.
So we did a lot of things from did things from Zayne's lab, and someone from this organization, there were these grandparents, have a granddaughter named Ava, AVA, and she's on the spectrum, and they reside in Eastern Kentucky, and man, just the power of parents and grandparents, man, just the things you do out of the love of a child, and so they're in the Appalachian Valley. So there's not a lot of help there for a lot of kids that were on the spectrum down there. So they had this idea, what they call the Ava Center, named after their granddaughter, but also the Appalachian Valley Autism Center. And
Nice.
Zayne was involved in doing performing at their. They had a fundraising event online, a virtual event that he performed on. And I was like, first chance we get, we're gonna pay. We're getting down to Eastern Kentucky. We're gonna go see the Ava Center. I mean, just to hear the families that have benefited from this center now, right there in the Appalachian Valley, that was not there before. Because someone heard our story and wanted to incorporate our story into, hey, you know what? If we give the kids what they need, there's no telling what they can achieve. Look at this young man here. Matter of fact, he's gonna perform for you right now, and to help secure funds for this Ava Center. I mean, that's what it's about.
That goes back to communication, education. Letting people know. Identifying what I was calling the disability of pretty much ignorance, of people not knowing.
Yeah.
That's the real area of opportunity here. Ignorance it's something that's plagued. I can only imagine. This is just outside view looking in, but ignorance has really plagued, the capabilities of people on the spectrum. It's to where Zayne at one point in time doesn't fit in, doesn't feel like he fits in, doesn't know who he can talk to, and and that's because we are taught to hush, sweep under the rug. We don't talk about it. That's a very not appropriate approach, and that's something I hope anybody who's listening to this takes away from this conversation is educate yourself. And those people who have children on the spectrum, educate others. Don't be afraid to have that conversation. Hey, my child might seem a little quiet, but here's why. That's a brave move that I think has benefited Zayne's life immensely, with you and Gwen deciding to go that route with it and being open and honest and bringing them out to the open jams and putting them out there and coming to the host and telling them, hey, just so you know, this is the situation, but we're cool, just do your thing.
Yeah. I remember in that documentary, Zayne said it was the desperation. He used the word desperation.
I said depression earlier. I was thinking, I couldn't figure that it was desperation. That was the word I was looking for.
And the thing was, man, I had never ever heard him say that before. So it's like as he gets older and he starts, he's able to recollect and recall, how he felt. Because I told him, I said, listen, he always talks about, you and Mom are such great speakers, and she did the keynote speech at the Autism Society of America, at their national conference once. I mean, it was like, man, and I'm always like, because this kid plays a guitar, you get to be a keynote speaker at the Autism Society of America.
That's a very black and white way to state that.
Absolutely. But he's like, and we tell him, I said, Zayne, let me tell you something, pal. People are going to want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you. I said, you might as well start, And so we've started to work with him at home on speaking, and because he's not confident in it, and it's like we're working on building up his confidence in that, because like, you know what you have to say is important.
Yeah.
It's more important than anything me and your mom can say, because you're actually, there are things that you can speak on that no one else can, and there's no right or wrong, because you're speaking your truth regarding you. So you know what you felt, you know what was going through your mind, you know. I mean, when he called that desperation, oh my goodness.
He also spun it around.
He did. He said it was a good desperation.
He said it was a good desperation. Yeah, when he spun that around, like, that was a very poetic. I don't think he knows how beautiful that was, or maybe he does. Like, it was just the way he worded it was like, wow. He brought. It's using that fear to lift yourself up. His desperation before was he was desperate to get out there, but now he uses that desperation as fuel to get out there.
Yeah.
And that was a very powerful statement that he had, and he is. I mean, he's more than welcome if you want to bring him here, to talk. Maybe get out of his comfort zone a little bit. His door's always open for you.
That would be awesome. I think it would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see, and it would be just him. I wouldn't want to be in the room. I would want it to be just him, and just to be comfortable to say whatever comes to mind. Because, like I said, I told him, I said, man, you're gonna. One of the last times we spoke, Gwen and I, we rarely do tandems. Usually one of us is speaking or the other. From time to time we may do a tandem type thing, but the last time we did a tandem was up in Sandusky and at an event, and Zayne walked up on stage with us and wondered if he could say something. And I said, we were from like I said, about 600 people in the room, and you could hear a pin drop, and he spoke, and they want to hear, because they know about Zayne the entertainer, Zayne the guitarist. He's up there, he's not saying a whole lot, he's just letting that guitar, he said, I let the guitar speak for me. The guitar sings for me, and now to get to a point of confidence, to like, okay, I see what mom and dad do. I mean, because we want to get his buy-in, we want him to be comfortable, because we're talking about you. So in front of all these people, so you need to be comfortable. I mean, one guy was teasing him the other day, calling him Nature Boy, because of a story that we told about Zayne. When Zayne was 4 years old, when he would get angry, he would strip naked. And we were in the backyard. We were changing. Two friends and I were changing out the carpeting in my mother-in-law's house in her basement, and we heard this commotion. We were out back. It was a hot day. We're out there. I think we were like drinking some lemonade, just kind of talking, and job well done. Glad the job was over with, and we heard the patter of some feet. Gwen yelling, "You get back here." He was mad about something, and he hit that door, and he ran out that back door and not wearing a stitch of clothing. And I'm like, ugh. So I took off after him. Unfortunately, in the backyard, it was all fenced in, so he couldn't go anywhere. But so I snatched him up, and my buddy yelling, "Run, Nature Boy, run, Nature Boy! They're coming to get you, Nature Boy! Run! They're coming to get you, Nature Boy!" So, man, I scooped him up. I'm like, "You are so gonna regret being naked right now." And it was funny because the next time he got angry, he grabbed his shirt like he was gonna take it off, and it was like, it was like his bottom sent a message to his brain: "I'm gonna need you to put this shirt down." So he put that shirt down, like, he grumbled something. I'm like, okay, that's good. You're mad. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be mad. Okay. We need to find some words with this, We need to find the appropriate action with this.
Yeah, different way to communicate it.
Getting naked can't be it. Because then fast forward, Gwen and I we went to a lot of, parent meetings and talking to quote unquote professionals and that sort of thing. And there was a lady there who had a 12-year-old son that guess what he did whenever he got angry? You guessed it.
Yep, he get naked.
Got naked.
Yep.
And the last time he got naked was on a Saturday at a Magic Mountain. Now, have you ever been to a Magic Mountain on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. It's full packed.
Full of people.
All families.
Kids for day everywhere. Yeah. Parties going on all over the place. The kid was upset. He was invited to a birthday party. There were no gifts for him, but it wasn't his birthday. He was an invited guest. Now, mind you, it's a compliment just to, a lot of kids on the spectrum don't get invited to parties, And he got angry, got naked, and jumped into the ball pit. And when she told this story, it took everything in me to not keep from cracking up laughing. I said, let me get this straight. He took his balls into the ball pit.
Man, I was thinking it.
And it was like, but then there was that part of me that's like, okay, now you're in a dangerous situation because now you're going to involve. Now you got authorities that's going to get involved because you didn't address. Because I'll bet dollars to donuts that's not the first time he did that.
Right. Because
you didn't. When I tell the story about Nature Boy, everybody laughs because he was 4. But when I talk about this 12-year-old who's now he's as big as mom.
Yeah,
he's swinging.
It becomes a little something different.
So we got a problem.
Yeah,
we got a problem.
Because this 12-year-old is going to be a 20-year-old. It's going to be a 30-year-old. It's going to be a 40-year-old.
Yeah. So now he thinks this is appropriate response to being angry, getting naked. So you got a serious problem here, and you didn't address it when he first did it. Like we did. Had to. It wasn't even a question, But we tell these stories about Zayne while Zayne's in the room. So Zayne's had to get comfortable with him being exposed like this. So we needed his buy-in. Hey, are you okay with this? Do you realize why we do this? It's not to mock you. It's not to make fun of you.
Right.
He's
learning to become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. So now it's like you can laugh along with this. You're not 4 years old. You don't have an urge to get naked when you get upset. That's not who you are. But we can talk about these things and have this. We really do have a great we're fortunate. We have a great relationship with our son. And we're able to talk about these things. And we talk about these things not for the benefit of others. So he sees that he's made the connection with what he does, what he's able to do, how he says, I want to be an inspiration to others. He doesn't have a problem with that. He thinks that's what he's supposed to do. He thinks that's part of his mission to show. He said in the video, man, I want people in the video, we're not there coaching him. Yeah. That conversation, we're not there when that conversation is happening with him. So we don't know what he said. It wasn't until, we saw on the video. We had a video with, at a church once that was shot, and there was some footage. And they didn't use his interview in the final product, but the pastor who shot it told me, said, "But I want to tell you something." He said, "We asked Zayne, how do you know your father cares about you?" And Zayne's response was, "He's always there." So here I didn't know he saw that. I didn't know he got that. You know, I didn't know he possessed the depth to see that, to know that, to understand that.
And that always parallels with the story of the artist, the kid who drew the picture, you know, and you know those guys wanted to meet the father, you know.
Yep.
It kind of came back full circle there.
Yeah. 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 So I'm like, okay.
I think. Well, let me check on something. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Well, I left one of my cats in this room.
Oh, okay.
Get out of here.
Okay.
I'm like, man, my cats are being really crazy today. Like, they're never this loud. Oh, yeah, I didn't know. I didn't even see you sipping on that.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, man, I crushed that. Thanks. Appreciate it, man. But yeah, it's just been the fact that he acknowledges it, you know, and I appreciate that. I really do, you know, because it also lets me know that he's come a long way, and that he's still developing. And I even say that to other parents, like, you know what? Don't think just because they may have a delayed development doesn't mean that it's not developing.
Yeah.
Developing, you know, is still going on. It's still happening. It may not be the rate you want it to be, but it's still happening. You know, they're still growing, moving and growing along, as we all are. As we all are.
Yeah, and that's nail right on the head with that. I mean, that's the thing that I've learned is okay. You know, my past 10 some odd years of my life is, you know, you can't just follow what you know, what you've been told to do, and, you know, just follow this, you know, preset path. You have to be confident in yourself and know it's okay to fall. It's okay to, you know, make mistakes, as long as you grow and learn from it and realize that you're always going to grow. You're always going to learn from it. You take a chance on something, it doesn't work out, that's okay. Take it, learn from it, grow from it. You know, and it's something that my mom has always put in my head. I didn't really listen until, you know, life experience, because I like to learn the hard way, you know, which is not, there's nothing wrong with learning the hard way, you know, but honestly, that's the wisest people do, you know.
Yep, I had a buddy of mine, his father was a farmer, and he talked about how you plant different crops differently. So he said, you know, and I remember when I was a kid helping my grandparents out there in their garden, you know, like if you wanted to plant potatoes, you know, you had a potato cut in half, and you had to dig a deep trough, and you put the potato down, and you cover it up with the dirt, and you had to stomp it and pack it in. But then when you plant beans, you just have like a little mound of dirt, put the bean on top, take your finger, and just push the bean down into the dirt. So it was like, and it was planted. And it's like, you know, and my buddy said, he said, I'm like that potato. He said, you know, I couldn't just be playing. I couldn't just be guided. My little finger being little, just push me in the right direction. I just go and grow. He said, nah, I had to be cut in half and stuck into a deep hole and covered up and stomped on.
That's beautiful.
You know, for me to grow, that's what had to happen. So he's like, you know, hey, different crops grow differently, and people are a lot like crops. You know, people just, they have to go through certain things in order to grow. It's like, you know what, some of us just, for whatever reason, some of us need to have those experiences in order to grow. You know, it's like, you know what, I had to take my head and hit that brick wall 100 times before I'm like, okay, now I get it. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's okay. You know, we're always taught, you know, you don't want to grow up and learn the hard way. And honestly, you know, coming from somebody who's lived that, they're telling you it sucks, you know. But at the same time, you know, can you, and just from me, my perspective, you know, can you really, how well can you learn a situation if you don't experience it? You know, hopefully you can take, you know, that person in your ear and decipher like maybe a possible bad situation, and like, okay, I might learn the hard way on this one. Let me take some of this advice and apply it to the situation. Like, okay, maybe
Sure.
but at the same time, what do you learn from that? Like I don't know that side, because I always, for the most part, have taken the harder route. I need to be stomped on in that dirt. But it's okay. Like, instead of letting it weigh on my shoulders, I just like the potato. I learned to use it to grow from. That's a great analogy.
Yeah,
I'm going to steal that one for sure.
Yeah, feel free. Feel free. I got 100 of them.
All right, Gene, how you feeling, man? You feeling good?
I'm great, man. This is fantastic.
So I didn't notice your beer was empty. Like, this whole time I saw you sitting there, I was like,
oh, that's all right, man.
I didn't see you sipping on it.
I'm just in here, just relaxing, man. Just taking it all in, and no, this is great. This is great. This is really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully one day I'll be in a bigger place where I have more room. Cause even right now, like, I'm getting tempted. I'm like, I could put my bed in here and put this in the master bedroom. But yeah, I talked myself out of that one.
Yeah, I like the intimacy of this.
Yeah, that's that. Right, and that's what I was telling you before when you asked, could we do it virtually?
Yeah.
Yes, we can, but I love this one-on-one connection.
So when you said that, it's okay. Hey, you know what? Then that's the way we do it. Then
Yeah.
I like how yeah. There's something about that.
The virtual, like Skypes and
but something about being face to face, and
there is something you can gauge a reaction. You're not looking into a camera or on a screen. When you see someone's emotions, you can see their eyes, you can see them paying attention to you. You can see when maybe they're lost, and you can guide a conversation as such.
Yeah.
And it's good. Now, there's nothing wrong with virtual. Like, you see me do virtual things all the time with people.
Sure.
And that's okay in that realm. But like when you're talking deep about things, I just like this one-on-one. I really do.
Yeah. So when you said that, you know what? What's the address? I'm coming. We're doing it.
Well, I appreciate you, Gene. Thank you so much for coming in, man. We're almost at 3 hours, so I think. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
I'm just flowing right along, man.
Well, here, cheers again. Thank you so much,
You
Gene.
bet, my man.
All right, guys. I'll have all the links to Blue Spectrum, the documentary, and whatever else Gene wants me to put down there in the description below. Be sure you check these guys out. And yeah, until next time, have a good one, guys.